let's share some more stories of the Yanagloshi Skinwalker. Oh. Welcome back to another episode of Shanclen Shadow Productions. Now, before we get started, as always, if you're enjoying the content here at Shanclen Shadow Productions, be sure to give a like, share, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you know when all new upload. Yes. Oh, so I got a new story here for you. Another relative story that I got for you guys here today, and this one is at a case that you don't think would actually happen. It would happen, but going to a location you never thought it would happen. It's very unfortunate. Oh, let's jump right in. So to set up the story here, this story goes back a long time ago. I would have to say maybe 50s or 60s in the Navajo Reservation. Now, one of my cousins told me that this is an encounter that his grandfather had on the Navajo Reservation. Oh. Now, in this story, his grandfather was, I would have to say, maybe around 30, 40 years old. Now, as always, it's nighttime on the reservation. The sun had just set, and the moon has begun to rise in the east. Now, the moon isn't a full moon, nor is it a new moon. It's in between to where the light of the moon still shines a little bit, but not too much. Clear skies, but was very cold. Beginnings of fall, winter is coming on the reservation. Now, his grandfather had relatives, family, children on his homestead, but they went to go visit the in-laws. So he had to take care of the livestock. He had to take care of all the animals there at the homestead. So he chose to stay by himself. And he started a fire, had dinner. Everything was going good. Good evening, just kind of collecting himself, thinking, having some time to himself. I guess you could say it was a really good therapy session, self-reflection time. It's very quiet on the reservation. And evening kind of goes on and on. He's thinking, listening to the radio, listening to music as darkness falls. I would have to say it was maybe around 10 or 11 o'clock in the evening. He was getting ready to go to bed, but he felt something in his stomach. He had to use the restroom. Now, for those of you who do not know, a lot of families on the reservation, especially in that time, did not have running water nor electricity. So we had to build, even to this day, a thing called outhouses. And it's pretty much a little box outside. I'd say maybe a couple 100 yards away, a couple feet away, a couple 100 feet away. Depends on your preference if you want to smell outhouse near your home. Now, in this story, the outhouse is about maybe 50 to 75 yards away from the home. So this elder, his grandfather, he wasn't an elder at the time, but his grandfather had to use the restroom. And back in these days, he did not have a flashlight. He had a radio, but not a flashlight. Back in those days, they used to have kerosene lanterns to be able to light the way, light the home, wherever they need to go. So his grandfather, of course, always carried a knife on him wherever he went. But as he was making his way outside of the home, he looks toward the door, and there was his firearm right there. He says, "Nah, I don't have any weird feelings. I don't have any bad feelings about anything's gonna happen. If anything does happen, I have my knife on me." So he leaves the home and he starts making his way over to the outhouse. But as he's walking, the trip to the outhouse, even though maybe 50 to 75 yards away, feels like a mile at nighttime. As he's walking, he feels the fall breeze hit his jacket, and winters and cold on the reservations are different. You may have a windbreaker, you may have a thick jacket, but that wind will find a way to hit your body. It begins to get cold, and as he's about halfway to the outhouse, he feels an unnerving wind hit him. And when the wind shifts, he senses something nearby. He's looking with his lantern held up into the air, and he's trying to look around. And he senses near the bushes to his left something call his name. Now, he's not too sure if it's just the wind going through the kerosene lantern, and sometimes it whistles if the wind hits just right. But he could have sworn he heard his mother's voice call his name. And for this story, we're going to go ahead and call him Thomas.
Thomas,
She says. Hears it a second time.
Thomas, come here.
He gets instant chills and shivers inside of his body. He turns and he looks in the direction where he heard that. Some shrub bushes that lead into a ditch right there.
Thomas, come here. I fell. Thomas, come here.
And for those of you who do not know, Thomas's family died at a very young age. So he was raised by his aunties and his grandmothers. So to hear his mother's voice call to him, he started to kind of freak out. He kind of cups the lantern a little bit to focus the light a little bit more on that little spot where he hears it, but nothing else happens. He's just like, my mind must be playing tricks on me. It's late in the evening, kind of tired, so he begins to pray about it. A little bit of sadness, he starts to choke up a little bit when he hears his mom like that. You know, it's like, is my mother here? You know, is my mother's spirit here? So he goes to the outhouse and takes care of business. As he's about to finish up, he hears a big bang on the door of the outhouse. He freaks out and he grabs the lantern and he holds it up and he pulls out his knife, and it's his mother screaming at him.
Thomas, help me. Thomas, get out of there.
But he knows his mother didn't really have that much strength to shake a whole outhouse like that. And in the door, you can see a little crack of the door right there. And he sees a glowing yellow reddish eye staring at him. And he knew, and he remembers, his mother's eyes were light brown. So this thing that was right here was not his mother. So, in fear and instinct, he makes a jab into the crack of the door, but hits nothing. He freaks out and he gathers his courage and he opens the door to the outhouse, and there's nothing there. With fear in his heart, with fear in his body, he forces himself to start running back to the homestead. But as he's running back to the homestead, around that same area where that ditch and shrub bush was, he hears his father call out to him.
Thomas, why are you running away? Come back and save your mother and myself.
He turns and looks and points his lantern toward that direction, and a dark figure appears out of the bushes. Now this figure looks different. This figure shows a silhouette of fur worn on top of a man painted in black and white. And over this person's face is a deer skull with antlers. And then Yanagloshi says, in both his mother and father's voice,
Thomas, come home with us. It's time for you to come home with us.
So Thomas pulls out his knife again, and he freaks out as the Yanagloshi starts making his way over to Thomas, runs at him on all fours. Thomas throws a kerosene lantern at the Yanagloshi, and he runs. He runs, he runs, he runs as fast as he can to get to the Hogan. He gets to the Hogan, and he can hear footsteps running up behind him quickly, and he slams a door right behind him. How close the Yanagloshi was to him was right when he slammed the door. Before he could even lock it, it slammed against the door right behind him, almost making him lose his footing and make its way into the home. But he was able to push back against the door to make sure the Yanagloshi doesn't get in the side of the house. He grabs his gun after he locks the door and he points it, ready for the Yanagloshi to try again. And out from the darkness behind the door, he hears his mother and father say,
We'll see you soon, Thomas. Don't worry, Thomas.
So he pretty much stayed up all night thinking about that experience and in shock and in fear, just ready for this thing to just bust into the door of the Hogan. And the next morning when dawn came, he knew, because he heard stories, he's had experience with Yanagloshis before. He opens the door, goes outside. Sure enough, there's a death symbol on his door, marked for death. So he ends up taking down that door and having to go into town and buying a new one. And his family returns and they're like, "You got a new door. What's this new door? Why'd you get a new door?" And then they turn and they look over toward the east of the home, east side of the homestead where they have a fire. And you can see a bunch of ash right there. And they're like, "Did you make a fire outside?" They're like, he's like, "Yeah, I burned the door." "Why'd you burn the door?" And he tells the kids, "Go play outside. I need to talk to your mother." And that's when he tells her everything that happened. So, but yeah, so it's always really cool to hear stories of, of that time. I'm blessed that we have flashlights. I'm blessed we even have night vision and thermal now these days that really help us out. Back then, a kerosene lantern, it's probably not even that good. So he ends up going back out there the next day too and getting his kerosene lantern. It's all busted up and everything, and he has to fix it up or get a new one. I forget what the story, how he told me what he did next, but yeah, just going through that and having something go, and especially going to an outhouse. That's something that, like, especially in the dead of night in the reservation by yourself, that's my worst nightmare. That was something I was thinking about when I was a kid. That would happen too. You would hear stories of these ghosts, these skinwalkers, or like demons or something like that. And like I said, like when I was a kid, I was very imaginative. So yeah, like I never went to the restroom alone at night when I was a kid, but now I'm just like, fuck it, and take my sword with me and just be all set it inside the outhouse. So if anyone wants to try to fuck around, just a sword's gonna come out that outhouse or anything. Well, that's good. That's how he rolls. Like he even kind of to this day, he always has that knife on him, and like he doesn't really say much, and you try asking him stories or anything like that, and he'll never say. So I guess my cousin told me that it was like a really good day that he was kind of feeling something for him to talk, and he finally shared that story. So I never really thought that he himself would be able to had any experiences or anything, at least to that magnitude. So for him to go through that, and at such a vulnerable time, it's probably something that you don't want to share with your grandkids until they're of age. So otherwise, you're going to plant the seed in their head, then they're never going to want to go to the outhouse, and you're going to have to do something else or move the outhouse closer, and your whole house is going to smell. So yeah, but good on him for hearing that story and everything. And then it's pretty crazy because I would go and visit this family, and I would see the outhouse, but there's a new one, but then there's a really old one that's really weathered, and it's like black. It's just so dark and everything, and it's just like there's a lock on it too. And then I was just like, "Is that the outhouse that you told me from the story?" And he's just like, "Yeah, that's the outhouse." So I guess like they ended up moving the outhouse to a location that's like easier terrain to get to, a little bit closer. But yeah, especially if you get like a death symbol or seal on your home too, they had to go get some ceremonies too as well to be able to bless the home, put some protections around it too. And he burned that symbol to where took off the whole door and burned it to make sure that if there's any Yanagloshis or Skinwalkers that are passing by, they see that mark for death, they're going to take a shot at it too. So glad he recognized that and knew that. And it was to say, old timers, they grew up in a different day and age. They know how to handle shit too. So good, hats off to him. And being able to hear his mother and father's voice like that Yanagloshi right there was probably an older one that was able to pick up on his past traumas like that and use that against him. That's what I was saying. In the gauntlet of fear, these evil things will use it against you. And if you haven't seen those videos, go check out those videos. Gauntlet of Fear Part 1 and 2. There's going to be Part 3 coming out next week. And yes, that's going to wrap it up for this story. Now, some updates I have for the channel. October is coming in a couple days, and if you're watching this in the future, this is in September, end of September. Filmed, edited, and posted. When it comes to October this year, it's going to be very exciting tales, even more scarier than what it is now. I might go to a different location and film these in dark places There's going to be paranormal investigations coming up in the honor of Halloween. Spooky time. Spooky month here is honestly my favorite time, but it's also a good time to go investigate because I'm not going to die of heat exhaustion. So there's going to be lots of good content out there. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you guys got some friends that are into some paranormal stuff, creepy tales, creepy stories that you guys want to go to bed and have nightmares about. Yeah, listen to Shanclen Shadow Productions. It's going to be very spooky. I'm excited for October. But yes, there's going to be travels, paranormal investigations, and more creepy tales on the way. But also be sure to go subscribe to my second channel, Shanclen Shadow Lodge. There's going to be new content coming on there as well, and Talking Shadows podcast will return. Yes, it's going to be very cool, very awesome, very amazing. Go follow me on Instagram at Clen Warrior SSP and Clen Shadow Lodge SSP for my 2 Instagram pages that I have out there. Stay tuned because there's going to be a lot of amazing things happening out there. If you guys have a creepy story you'd like to submit to Shanclen Shadow Productions, send it over to shanclenshadowproductions@gmail.com. And then if you guys have any creepy videos you want to send me, send it on over to my Instagram or on my TikTok at ShanclenSP as well. And now let us get ready, Clen Warriors, for Halloween and spooky month. Oh, hope you all have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Sweet nightmares. Ogone. If you would like to submit, I trimmed my hair. It's still long, but not as long because I was starting to sit on it. So yeah, I trimmed it. So new hairstyle for this video. Yeah, we'll see if I like it or not. You guys watch the new Demon Slayer? I loved it. Great. Sucks I gotta wait 2 years for the next one though. Spooky time, spooky time, spooky time. All right, let's get this edited.